Hey everybody, welcome to another live Q&A with everyone's favorite aquatics enthusiast and video host, Thomas.
Yay!
And his trusty video producer, me, Brian.
Yay!
Good to have you guys all here today. Good to have you here today once again.
Oh, thank you, Bry Guy.
How you doing?
It's always a pleasure to be here. I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Noticing something a little different today.
Yes.
We haven't seen each other in a little while, and I'm
Yeah.
noticing you made some changes.
I did. I switched my car insurance over to...
I thought that's what it was.
No, I shaved my face.
Yeah, looking good though.
Yeah, I shaved it like last week sometime. And I every once in a while I like to grow a new beard. It makes me feel alive.
Yeah. Well, you look good. Everyone, thank you guys so much. Hopefully you guys are still fully bearded and ready to go on this beautiful Saturday morning. As usual, we're going to start going through your aquatics questions in sequence. So for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, that is how it works. We will go in sequence. We'll try our best not to skip anything. And if you have something super urgent, we do have the super chat function, and then we bump those right to the front. But otherwise, sequential. So put your questions in the chat now. Better chances we'll actually get a chance to get to it today. I just want to say a few things off the top that we started a new mega build.
We did.
And I'm not sure if everyone here has necessarily had the opportunity to watch them yet. There's 2 episodes out.
Yep.
Pretty exciting.
It's a discus tank.
Yeah, indeed. It will be. It's a, what's the brand, the tank that you got again?
Oh.
Or you know what? Don't even tell them. Watch the videos.
Go watch the video.
But
it's a really nice tank.
Yeah.
I'm actually like, I've seen lots and lots of tanks in my time. And just for like a glass tank and stand and everything, some of my like favorites just in terms of looks for years were Eheim because they were so like interesting and cool. This, I think, takes the cake for me. Like these tanks are nice.
Yeah. Really,
yes.
Really slick.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Big fan.
So check out those new videos after the stream. I'll link them as well because we really enjoyed making those. We had a lot of fun making those vids, and we got more coming out soon. So that's really exciting, that new mega build. I think we're going to be up and running on the high tech again pretty soon. We got plants.
Yes.
I know there's been
plants are inbound.
Yeah, some people have asked, like what's the holdup on that? It's because Thomas lives in a very rural area, and I guess there's been a little trouble getting the plants he needed.
Yeah,
but
I had to special order them. No big deal.
Yeah, but they're coming. We have a date, so
they're on their way.
We're gonna get that guy back on track as well.
Yep.
So that's always an exciting time. Let's see. I think we should just jump right into some questions. What do you think?
Did you say the whole thing about specific fish and blah, blah, blah?
No, I'll let you do it.
Okay, so if you guys have any questions regarding the health or status of your specific fish in your aquarium, a lot of the time, in order for me to properly, or anybody really, to properly diagnose what might be happening and what's going on, it's got to be more of a discourse. I can't just get one question and answer it and expect to have something that's going to work really well for you. So in those instances, you can still ask a question. We may or may not be able to field it on camera here. And if we can't, we will definitely send you over to our wicked awesome team of experts. We'll give you our support email. Brian will drop it in the chat for you. We'll do it now, and we'll also do it again anytime those questions come up. So you can send all the information to that email, and we can make sure we have a awesome solution for you to try to get your aquarium and your fish back on track and feeling swell.
Correct. So I dropped that in the chat, so that's there in case we need it. But I guess with that said, we can kind of jump right in. Start off though, let's hit that like button, people.
Smash it!
Yes, please. That would help us out big time. Let's get into some questions. Like I said, we are sequential, so technically I have to start with the very first one, which is saltwater? That's the question.
Do you mean for the mega build? Because I said discus. But also, maybe very soon you'll see another build that is kind of on the mega side of things and kind of not on the freshwater side.
Perhaps of the saltwater persuasion.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, I guess saltwater? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, wonder what lovely t-shirt Thomas will be sporting today. It's glorious. It's a nice one. I like that one a lot.
It is a really nice shirt. I didn't pick it. My lovely better half picked it for me.
You don't have to call me your better half. I mean, we're equal. His wife. It was his wife. I definitely do that. Hey, Thomas, are bettas good community fish?
Not really. I mean, they can be fine community fish as long as they're with other fish that, in a large enough aquarium that are not going to cause them to feel threatened or territorial, and will also not pose any sort of threat to them because they do have long, flowy, fragile fins. But long story short, I don't really consider them a community fish myself. I think there are so many other options that work so much better that there's no real reason to put a betta in a community tank unless you just really want one.
Okay, fair enough. Next, Thomas and Brian should get matching haircuts.
I don't think Brian can cut his hair like mine.
No, I don't think so. No, we're too different.
We're a little different.
Yeah. Next up, best way to deal with a bit of green spot algae.
Oh, a scraper? Also, if you mean like on surfaces other than your glass, green spot algae is pretty easy to take off with a coarse bristle brush or stiff bristle brush. Just brush it off. If it's on like plastic plants or things that are hard to brush, a very weak bleach solution can work. Yeah. Usually if you're getting a lot of green spot algae, it's just a matter of the tank having too much light for too long during the day, or you having elevated nutrients. So you can try testing your water, seeing where your phosphate and or nitrate levels are at, and try to do some water changes to reduce them. Or if you've got a window nearby that the tank's getting some light from, curtains or blinds, and if it's just the light on the aquarium being on too long, obviously you can throw it on a timer for 6 hours a day or less, unless you've got live plants, in which case you should stick to an 8-10 hour cycle somewhere in there.
About an hour. This is from Stephen Gregory, who is
you should link that. Sorry. You should also link that algae video we did.
Yes, I guess I should do that. I will do that. I will ask this question from our good man Stephen Gregory, then I will link that algae video so all of you having algae issues can resolve those easily.
Yes.
About an hour after feeding my water. Here you go, water. About an hour after feeding, my water goes a little cloudy. Clears after another hour or so. Is this a sign of anything? Overfeeding? Generally feeding flakes?
It can be a sign that your tank is either like at the maximum point you can really have it at in terms of stock. Like if you're getting bacterial blooms every time you feed the tank, either there's something in the food that is causing the water to discolor, which is entirely possible. Sometimes there are coloration like dye or elements in the food that will temporarily dye the water until your carbon pulls it out. So that could be what's happening. But if it's just a general white cloudiness like the tank is cycling, it is entirely possible that you are just like on the cusp of having, right before being overstocked. And every time you feed, there's enough nutrient going into the water in the form of ammonia and everything else that, you're just getting like a little taste of a cycle every time. I think it's probably more likely that there's just something in the food. The easiest way to check that is just feed something else. Just try a different food, whether it's pelleted or frozen or whatever. And if that same thing happens over again, I would heavily recommend testing your water and just finding out where you're sitting in terms of nitrate, ammonia, nitrite, and seeing that if right after feeding, if you're getting elevated levels of that. Some foods, frozen foods mostly, can have quite a bit of extra nutrient in them if you're just dropping them in the tank. I know you said you're feeding flake, but I just figured I'd bring that up for anybody else who may be experiencing something like this. This is not super common for your tank water to go cloudy right after you feed and clear up an hour later. Not very common at all. Most people won't see that happen, but it is possible.
Okay, Aquaterra.
Yay!
With a super chat. Thanks, Aquaterra.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate it. How to turn brown algae bloom into green algae suitable / edible for African cichlids, Lake Malawi. That's the one. Can go without water change for 2 weeks, but doesn't change much. Lights, nutrients, silicate filter.
Okay, so first thing you want to do is try to test as many things as you can that could potentially be causing elevated nutrients in the tank. So the two things I generally go to, although you can test silicates as well, are nitrates and phosphates. Some people have elevated phosphate in their tap water, which can cause issues when it comes to algae and stuff like that. You can also have silicates in tap water, so on and so forth. So don't just test your tank water unless your tank water is very, very low. If your tank water is high in that, test your tap water as well, just to double check that you're not getting nutrients during water changes. doing some extra water changes to try to lower nutrients if they're high is one of the best approaches. Beyond that, you can try to reduce light for a little while to see if that kind of throws the brown algae off of its kind of steady course that it's on, so to speak. Like if you can kill it off by not providing enough light for it for an extended period of time, that could help. Unfortunately, some algae is pretty resilient, and even with low lighting, it can still kind of thrive anyways, and brown algae sometimes can do that. So yeah, that's where I'd start. And if that doesn't rectify it, then hit us up at support and we'll see if we can keep working with you. But I would suspect that you've probably got more nutrient in the water than you'd like to have. And some extra water changes should be able to help with that.
Best of luck. Hopefully it all pans out for you. And thanks again for the support, Aquaterra. Thank you so much. Okay, next up. I think I messed up my tank's balance when I changed the water. All my fish are stressed. What should I do?
How much water what happened? Did a temperature? So when you do a large water change or a water change, you have ill effects immediately after and the fish are showing signs of stress. There's usually something that happens. So number one, test your tap water and test your tank water and make sure that your tap water doesn't suddenly have high nitrate, or suddenly have high ammonia. Sometimes when municipalities are doing things with the water supply system, they're putting additives in and stuff. It can cause elevated nutrient levels that won't necessarily affect us people and we're drinking tap water, but can definitely affect fish since they live and breathe it. You'll also want to double check that whenever you're doing any water change at all, that the temperature is as identical as it can be. The reason being, if you put water that is very, very warm in, it can be very detrimental to the fish. It can cause gasping. It can cause erratic movements and behavior in the tank. They start swimming really fast or breathing a lot faster, and that's because the warmer water gets, the less oxygen it has. And you're almost instantly speeding up their metabolism when you put them in warmer water. Fish don't regulate their own temperature. They rely on the environment. So if you can imagine dropping them in warm water, all of a sudden their body's like, whoa, it's time to go. So it's not good for them and it can cause shock. So the exact same thing can happen, but kind of in reverse when you have cold water. If you put water in the tank that is much too cold, it can send them into shock as well. It can cause labored breathing. It can cause weird erratic behavior and it can kill them. So long story short, temperature has to be spot on. So I would also double check that your temperature is okay. Another thing you'll want to check, which most people don't think of and is probably not the case, but is something you want to take a look at. If you have a heater in the tank and you do a water change and the heater's not unplugged first and it doesn't have its own sensor to tell when the water's low, you should unplug it anyways. You can crack the heater, and when you refill the tank, you've got hot glass, you put water in. Even if the water is like a warm temperature like the tank, the glass is way hotter than that. It'll fracture, and if it fractures and water gets into it, you could have straight current leaking into the tank, which can cause distress in fish. So, and that could manifest itself in them just acting a little weird, breathing a little heavy. So you want to double check that your heater's intact and nothing funky happened there.
All right. Next up, from Al Sauls. What are your thoughts on using Kessel lights on planted tanks? It's hard to find sellers doing reviews on them.
My honest opinion is I love Kessel lighting. Kessel lighting is fantastic. It is quite pricey, but it is really, really good. I've worked with a couple of Kessel lights, the Tuna Sun and the Tuna Blue, which are the larger 360 models. I really like them. I have nothing bad to say about them. The spectrum is great. They grow plants fantastic. The Tuna Sun, I've grown both terrestrial plants and aquatic plants with them. I really like the fact that you can tune the light. I tend to keep it on the warmer side of things. I just like warmer looking light with plants. The shimmer is like one of the best shimmers I've ever seen in an LED fixture. It is the closest thing to a metal halide that I've ever seen, and I can really appreciate that. Yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about them. The only thing is they're expensive. They're expensive, but they're nice.
Expensive for a good reason? Like, are they? Is it the kind of like you get what you pay for?
Yeah. I think they are expensive for a good reason, but I don't know if for that money I wouldn't buy a different light. Like they're really nice, but for like a tank that's 4 feet, needing 2 of them is crazy expensive. Like for me. Right. I could have similar effects in terms of keeping the plants happy with much, much less expensive lighting. It just won't look as good. Like it definitely won't look as good. Kessels make the tank look amazing. The the way they act as a point source compared to other LED fixtures, it's hard to argue that they have the best shimmer.
Cool. Well, thanks.
Although I will say, I've got lights in my possession right now for a future build that I'm very excited to try because I think they might come close.
Sweet.
Okay. Anyways,
I'm excited. All right. Thanks so much for that super chat, Alsals. We do appreciate it. Every little bit always helps, and we do appreciate you guys who are so nice to support us in that way as well. Next up, I want to remind you, hit that like button. And, you know, I've seen we have people here from, like, Japan, Pennsylvania, like, the U.S. I've seen people from a few different places. Let us know where you're from. Hit the like button, and also let us know where you're watching from, because it always kind of blows our mind. We can run through the list here in a second. This next question, I know it's kind of tough. You haven't bred a lot, from what I know, but someone's asking, how do you breed angels? Do you have any kind of insight on that?
I've seen angels produce viable eggs multiple times in multiple systems, and the one common thing was they just had good quality, clean water within the parameters that angels prefer. Like, it's not hard. Breeding angels isn't necessarily difficult, getting them to that point. You just got to have an adult pair, and they have to be comfortable, and they will just do it on their own. Rearing the young and keeping the eggs from having any kind of fungus or anything on them is a whole other ball game that I have no practical experience with, so I'm not even going to try to tell you how to do it. But getting them to actually breed is not that difficult. Just keep them happy, have a male-female pair. Sometimes starting off with a group of younger angels and letting them grow up together, they will naturally pair off on their own, and it's pretty obvious when they've paired off and decided that they're going to breed because they won't let the other angels anywhere near them and keep them like off in the corners of the tank. They're like, nah, this is our space.
Yeah.
We're about to do something here, and you're not invited. So, yeah.
Cool. How to clean the front glass on a 10?
Any number of ways. You could use a sponge in your hand. There's lots of awesome sponges that we've got. My favorite currently are some by Seachem. They make these little tank scrubbies. They're white. They're phenomenal. They actually work really, really well. I also really like, if you want something that's going to be reusable long term, those sponges, I get like maybe 4 or 5 uses out of them, and then they're starting to get ratty. Something that works long term, the Python mitt. The algae mitt.
Right, yeah.
Love that thing if you want to do it by hand in the tank. It actually works extremely well. I'm a big fan of that one. If you want to be lazy, like I often am, and not get your hands wet and have to dry them off and all that stuff, a MagFloat magnetic aquarium cleaner is really, really good. If you've got a very small tank, like a nano tank or something like that, or have very thin spaces you need to get through, the Two Little Fishes Nano Mag is amazing. Yeah. And if it's really hard stuck on stuff, get like a Kent Pro Scraper, or Seachem has one that just came out as well. Yeah, that's it.
Lots of ways.
Yep.
Cool. Let's see. We got people here from Illinois, Texas, Maryland, California, Australia, the Netherlands, Rancho Viejo, Texas, Wisconsin, California, South Australia,
yay,
Denmark, Miami.
Nice.
We're getting off. We got more questions coming in. Let's go through this list though. Miami, Pennsylvania, Ottawa, South Africa, India.
Whoa!
Awesome. Florida, Ireland.
Yay! That's awesome. So cool.
Yeah, really, really cool. Well, awesome. Thank you guys for tuning. It always blows our minds.
Our reach is nuts. Like I never would have thought. Anyways.
Yeah. we're in Ireland right now. Cool.
Yay!
I like this question from David Fisher. With a super chat. What are your backstories? How did this all start?
My backstory is way longer than Brian's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, mine is not quite as exciting.
I'll wrap mine up fast for you then.
Thomas's origin story.
Yeah. I started keeping fish when I was like 7 years old. My dad had a tank, and I kind of helped him do his thing. That continued. When I was about 16, got my first job with Big Al's. And I started buying aquariums and spending all of the money that I was earning on aquariums. I don't even want to think about how much money I've given back to this company.
Don't pay me. I don't want to pay you.
Yeah, just give me stuff. Yeah. So I started my first saltwater tank shortly, I think about a year into working there. And then I moved from store to store, and then ended up going to the office and working in the online, and then started working in purchasing, and then started working with this guy about 3 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years ago?
Over 4 years.
Holy!
Yeah. No, yeah. So that's a much better story than mine. I mean, I had nothing to do with aquariums, to be honest. I had to do with video. Big Al's was looking to start their video program. They brought me in. On my first day, I walked in. They said, "Oh, yeah, hey, Thomas." And Thomas stood up from his seat. I saw what looked like a man who walked straight out of the mountains after being there for 20 years in isolation. He had the big beard, the big hair. He said, "This is the guy you're doing videos with." I'm like, "Cool." Yeah, we gave it a shot, and it turned out well. And I think when it's almost 4.5 years ago we started. Wow. And when we started, I remember when I walked in, sat down, was looking through the YouTube channel stuff. We had 12 subscribers, and the only videos were like manufacturer provided videos on the channel. So it was like starting from pretty much scratch.
Yeah.
And now we're like coming up to 90,000 subscribers and 100,000. Yeah. So it's been a crazy 4.5 years, man.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff, lots of vids. So, David, thank you so much for that question. We really appreciate it, your support. Next up from Tyler Hawkins.
Woo!
What's your take on canisters versus sumps? I'm running 2 FX6 canisters on my 1,000-liter tank, but I'm thinking of going into a sump system. Question coming from Australia.
Awesome. Well, I have lots of thoughts regarding that. It's funny that you brought that up because on my 265 mega build that I did, I was using a sump beside a canister filter, but I very purposefully chose a tank with built-in overflows because I knew when I was going that large that a sump was just going to be a better option for me for a number of reasons. One, a large sump under that tank is only adding water volume to the system. Adding water volume is just dilution for any of the waste that the fish are producing. Sump systems have a ton of space for media. You can put loads and loads and heaps of media in those things. It's completely customizable, so you can choose whatever biomedia you want. You can make it all biomedia if you'd like. Do some biomedia, some this, some that. It's a space for all the equipment, so you don't have any equipment in the main display. It can basically all be, other than power heads moving water around up there. But everything else, heaters, everything else is down in the sump itself, so you don't have to look at it, which I'm also a massive fan of. And overflow systems provide surface extraction constantly, so the surface of the water is always being removed and brought down to the sump. And what that does is it makes sure you never have any kind of a protein film or oil slick on the top of the tank, which visually for me I really like. So there's also tons of oxygenation that happens from taking water from the surface of the tank, dropping it down the overflow system, so on and so forth. So I really do prefer sumps and overflow systems for most aquariums. Anything from 40 gallons and up, if I can put a sump on it, I probably will. But it's not always practical just from a cost perspective, and it's not always practical from a size perspective, because a 40-gallon aquarium doesn't have a ton of space under the stand for a sump. So you usually end up having to make a sump or get something custom done to fit under there if the stand even allows for it. And truthfully, you can get canister filters that will run tanks up to like 400 gallons. So finding a canister for those smaller tanks is obviously a lot easier and going to be more cost effective than it is to try to get a sump system put on it. But I do really prefer sumps in general. That said, the new mega build that we're doing, which is going to be a discus system, on a tank that dimensionally is about 280 gallons or 270, something like that. Anyways, it's in that ballpark. I ended up going with 2 canisters, and they're not even 2 huge canisters. They're actually just like hitting the rating for that size of a system on the top end. And I did that not only because the aquarium itself is designed to be set up for canisters. I would have to do some massive modifications to it to try to make an overflow system work on that tank. But there is something that is simple and easy about having canisters under there. It's a lot less to worry about in terms of setup. It's a lot quicker to get up and running than a sump system. I have less things to worry about in terms of leaking because, with all the piping that you have to get together with the sump system, if you mess something up, especially if you're doing all hard plumbing, when I mentioned this in the 265, if I screw up a fitting somewhere in all that hard piping, I could potentially have to scrap it all and start over because I made a mistake if I can't get that leak to stop. So it's just simpler and easier. And if I ever want to, I can just take it off, throw it away, and put a new canister on there if something goes wrong, right? With a sump system, the plumbing could have to change. There's all these other elements that complicate it. So I just wanted to keep it simple. I did the canisters. They've got a good amount of biomedia. And as long as they've got the flow requirements and the biomedia to support that tank, it's going to do a pretty good job. So I'm not going to have the surface extraction and some of the other benefits, but for the simplicity and the the cost savings of just having those canisters on there versus going through the whole charade of modifying a system to have a sump that doesn't already have it, it just made more sense for me, and I just decided to go that route this time. One thing you have to keep in mind, though, is if your tank isn't already drilled, you want to double check with your manufacturer, whoever made the tank. Unless it's acrylic, you can drill through acrylic regardless. Make sure it's not tempered glass before you start trying to drill the tank. And if you're not going to drill the tank and use hang-on overflows, just make sure you understand the ins and outs of hang-on overflows first. And the styles of hang-on overflows are out there. If it's just a full siphon overflow versus something that is constantly keeping siphon or has something to restart siphon if siphon breaks, so on and so forth. I'm not comfortable with hang-on overflows. I don't like them. They make me leery because the water has to go over the edge of the aquarium in order to go to the sump. If that siphon ever breaks and doesn't restart and your sump is still pushing water up to the tank, it's going to overflow the tank. So I prefer to drill the tank, and if it's not drilled or the tank can't be drilled, I would almost rather get a new tank than put a hang-on overflow system. But that's just me.
And funny enough, right before this, I just did
like a quick video on that explains how overflow systems work.
Yeah, a little explainer vid. So that'll be coming out shortly. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Probably out this coming week. So you can sit here with Tom's and he'll explain it all for you, do with some handy little diagrams and stuff.
Yay!
So keep your eyes peeled for that. Next up, I triggered a diatom bloom.
Yuck.
After I trimmed up my plants. It's been 2 weeks now. Should I consider a blackout or just let it run its course?
I don't know. What would I do in that situation?
Put yourself in their shoes.
I usually, honestly, I was just like yawning and talking at the same time. That was weird. I honestly usually just let them run their course, and I'll usually go in and just do a quick partial water change and siphon out as much as I can gently, just to kind of push it along. But I've never done a blackout to get rid of them. I've never had it ever get so bad that I felt like the plants and stuff couldn't just sit there while they had some diatom on them. So yeah, I would personally just wait it out and just do a little, some extra water changes to help pull any nutrient in the water column that's floating around that caused this. You probably just in trimming your plants may have disturbed some of the substrate or kicked something up and threw things for a bit of a loop, but you should be able to get through it pretty easily. And a few little water changes and some siphoning of any of the debris that could be sitting around is going to go pretty far for you, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Cool.
If that fails, then you can just do a blackout. That's easy enough.
Cool. Well, it's about halfway through our stream, so
already?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment. Boo! Okay, so what did Brian learn this week?
Something good.
It's kind of interesting. It has nothing to do with fish, but it has something to do with the ocean.
Okay, I'll dig it.
All right, so I read that scientists, those crazy scientists out there doing all their experiments and such, what they found is they dug down into the bottom of the ocean, like 1.5 miles down, like past the ocean floor, I believe.
Wow.
Got a teaspoon-sized sample. And they examined it, and they found fungus, bacteria, viruses down there, like 1.5 miles down into the actual ocean floor. Bacteria, fungus, viruses that are 100 million years old and reproduce only once every 10,000 years.
Once every 10,000 years?
Yes.
We'll give you such a crick in the neck.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty crazy. It's just a fun little fact about the ocean floor that I thought was kind of neat, that there's this, they think like it could be some of the oldest like, life forms alive, because...
And now we're going to wipe out all of humanity because they released some virus.
Yeah, they dredged it up 1.5 miles down, and now we're all
we're done.
Yeah, we're done. No,
thanks, science! No, I'm just kidding.
But that is what's going to happen at some point. We all know it. But what they did is they looked at, I guess, the sample of bacteria, viruses from the ocean floor, and like I guess in this teaspoon-sized sample, there's only like I think 10,000 actual viruses or bacteria, whatever. But in like a normal, if you went and got like a normal teaspoon of soil from anywhere, there's like trillions or billions of organisms. In this one sample, there's 10,000 in the same sample.
So that's pitiful by comparison.
Yeah, like
it's pretty barren.
Very sparse.
But still there.
Still there, and
lying in wait for the moment they get dredged up by scientists to take over the world.
Yeah. Like their metabolism, I guess, is so slow. That's why it's like every 10,000 years they're finally like, okay, yeah, I think we can reproduce now. And then you got to put it on hold for another 10,000 years. So that was kind of crazy.
Imagine only being able to reproduce once every 10,000 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's nuts. It's nuts. So that was something I learned, not particularly fish related, but ocean related, which counted for me. I read it and went, that's kind of blows your mind a little bit when you think of the time scale of it.
Seriously, it's crazy what we find down there.
Yeah, crazy. And there's always more discoveries being made. There, they have like their underwater bots that are, like down in like the Marianas Trench and elsewhere and finding crazy things. So, that's just another example of these scientists doing their science thing and coming up with cool results and hopefully not killing us all yet. Anyway, so that's that. That was my fact for the day.
Awesome fact.
Thank you, science. Okay, next up. Can I keep discus fish and mono angle fish in one tank?
No. Mono, yeah. So mono argentis, I'm assuming you're talking about, or mono sebe. Either way, they're brackish. They brackish and they get big. So no, you can't. Sorry.
Yeah. All right, well, if that's the way it's got to be. Okay, let's see here. I see no tacos for Thomas today. I know, Justin.
You got to keep on him. I want those tacos.
Justin, I appreciate what you're doing here. He deserves tacos.
I do.
I get tacos if he gets tacos. The problem is we shoot videos right before this as well, and we're in my home, and I have two noisy kids. So we have to kick my wife out with the kids while we shoot, and she's the taco maker.
Yeah, this just sounds like excuses.
It's totally an excuse, but a valid one. And you know what? I was like, okay, I'll run to Taco Bell, and but I don't have time because we're shooting videos, and I got to get set up for this. Justin, I'm trying, and there will be tacos for Thomas.
We should just do a live stream from Taco Bell.
Next time we're gonna do it right from Taco Bell.
Use their internet.
Yeah. Hey guys, what combo should I get?
I'm not even kidding. We're doing this now.
All right, Taco Bell, listen up. All right, cool. I have a new 40-gallon breeder tank. What big fish can I put in my tank? Okay, this is one of those questions that is very difficult for him to answer because it is a very subjective thing.
I'm going to give you the answer I give everybody. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of options. Doesn't matter what tank size. There's thousands and thousands of fish that we have at our disposal in the hobby. What I recommend, and this was one of my absolute most favorite things to do when I was younger, even after I had started working for Big Al's, they had a hard time keeping me out of the fish room. I was in the dry goods section, so they would constantly be pulling my butt out of the fish room like, you have shelves to stock. I'm like, yeah, but snakehead.
Yeah.
Anyways, go to your local store, your local fish shop. Hopefully it's a Big Al's. If not, meh. And just go back to the fish room and take a look at everything they have back there. Literally everything. See what inspires you. See what shapes of fish, what behaviors you see, colors, whatever. See what grabs you. Like, for me, when I was younger, I was really interested in oddball fish that looked weird and ridiculous, like violet gobies and polypterus and snakeheads and bowfins and all kinds of weird stuff, right? Arowana, love them. I just thought they were so cool. But that's not everybody's bag of tea, right?
No, not mine.
Exactly. And who the heck drinks tea out of a bag? Anyways, calling myself out, and maybe you want fish that are colorful and swim in schools, or maybe you want just like one large fish that's going to act like a puppy dog for you. So go see what's there, grab an employee, ask a bunch of questions, and just see what resonates with you. And then you can kind of start drilling down to what's appropriate for your aquarium and what you want to keep. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion, because that's where you get all of the, good feelings, and you learn and you're inspired. And don't just do what some guy on YouTube says is good for that size tank. Don't just put some fish in there.
You're some guy on YouTube.
I know I am. Yeah, don't just do what I say because I like a certain fish. Go see what inspires you, because that, I think, is really what the hobby is all about.
All right. I think we're going to pre-record an answer for that. And every time someone asks, like, what fish should I get for this tank, we'll just play that pre-recorded answer.
What fish should I get for this tank?
Yes.
Like this little scroll.
Yes. That's my next mission this
week. But
week.
if you want just a quick suggestion, you could do all kinds of stuff. Live bears are great. You could do 40 breeder. You could do gouramis. You could do cichlids, like small South American cichlids. You could do a pair of jewel cichlids or something. Crebensis cichlids. You could get into apistogramma if you want to do really densely planted tank. You could do rainbow fish. There's all kinds. Dwarf neon rainbows are amazing. Blah, 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 blah.
All right. Pregnant platy. General guidelines, please. What must I do?
Feed it well, keep it well fed. If you want to make sure those babies survive and there are other fish in the tank, you may want to get a small breeding box for your platy and put her in there so that she's segregated from everybody else. And when those babies come out, they are safe. I also like to feed my live bears a lot of healthy spirulina based flake foods when they are pregnant. I find that it is great for their vitality and it really helps keep them well fed and stocked up on what they're going to need most for pushing them babies out. And yeah, that's it. It's not very difficult. Even if you do nothing, she's most likely just going to pass all those babies into the aquarium at some point. And yeah. But if you want them to survive, breeder box and spirulina flakes a great thing to do for her while she is pregnant and even when she's done.
Cool. Next up, Fat Rabbit with a super chat. Thanks, Fat Rabbit. Hey boys, how's your day going?
Day's going good.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, like that first video I thought I was gonna struggle a bit more with it. What you guys don't know is sometimes it takes multiple takes for me to say something without like messing it up.
I have a huge back library of outtakes and goofs and all that.
Oh yeah. So if I'm on the ball, like I write all the scripts. Sometimes I don't write a script. I just have jot notes and I kind of know what I want to say and have to get it out. Other times I like write everything out, which is always to my detriment.
We never really end up going with that.
Yeah,
throw it away.
Yeah, Brian's often like, stop reading it. Like don't try to say what you wrote. Just the material. Just say it.
Hi guys, Thomas here, and in this video I'm gonna show. It's like not.
I don't think it's ever quite that.
It's always usually that.
Anyways,
but great day so far.
But yeah, so it went really smooth this morning, and I'm happy about it. And now we're doing this, and this is always fun for me.
And then when this is over, it's a nice sunny day out there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go out and like spend some time in there because we've been waiting here, at least here in Nova Scotia. It's been like really gray and rainy, dreary, and now we're finally getting stretches of a nice weather. Yeah. So. Pew pew, Fat Rabbit, really good day. Thanks so much.
Ooh, I might take the kids to the tide pools.
That's a good idea.
Like just and we find like crabs and starfish and
so
much fun. I love being by the ocean. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Cool. So Fat Rabbit, thanks so much for supporting us and just asking us about our day. That's really kind of you. We really appreciate the support and love there.
I'm always taken aback a little bit when people want to ask us about personal stuff.
Yeah. Great vids. Thank you. I have a quick question. How many angelfish could I house in a 29-gallon tank?
Adult angelfish? None. They need more space. If you're going to put any angels in a 29 for now, and I hope you upgrade in the future if you really want to keep angels, if they're your jam, just get a pair. Like I wouldn't put more than a pair of young angels in that tank and get them small so that they have lots of time to grow. And once they start growing a little bit, look at setting up a larger system for them. I think a 55 for a pair of angels is a pretty good option if that's like, if you're trying to keep the tank as small as possible, I think a 55 will suit you.
Sweet. All right. Quick reminder, hit that like button. Is it hard to keep discus? Are they hardy?
I'm about to find out. So if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notifications bell and watch our Mega Build series. This is so pitchy. So the thing is,
I'm Thomas, and you should watch our Mega Build.
I haven't kept discus myself. I have the theory of it and all that, but I haven't ever done it, mostly because I tend to like to be lazy with my aquariums, so I set them up to be lazy. But discus are not one of those fish you want to be lazy with. So I have set up the tank that we're building, or have it in my mind to set it up in a way where I can be as lazy as possible as you can be with discus, but they're not they're not like super hard to take care of. They really need clean water, and they thrive in clean water. So it's important that you don't end up with elevated nitrate in the tank and stuff like that. So you want to be staying on top of water changes and making sure that those nitrates stay nice and low. They also tend to like very warm water compared to some other fish, and so on and so forth. But I wouldn't say, and from what I've heard, again, I have no practical experience yet. Stay tuned. But they're not supposed to be horribly difficult. They are intimidating for a lot of people because the amount of work you sometimes have to put in to keep their water clean enough for them to stay happy and thrive is more than what a lot of people want to do. So that is why people find them difficult, because you got to stay on top of them. You got to stay on top of that water. If you constantly push it off, they will deteriorate and they won't do well, and that's why people think discus are hard.
Now, like on our video, I've seen a lot of subs commenting, saying like discus aren't that hard. You just have to stay on top of it. It's not that bad. So for me, that would be encouraging.
Oh, it's super encouraging.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm lazy. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah,
I got lots. You know why? I have way too many irons in the fire. I've got 2 little kids. Two kids under 4 years old. I've got a farm, essentially.
Yeah.
I've got how many aquariums at the house now? Like, I've got a lot going on. So to have something that requires like very specific attention all the time is tough.
And just generally, the goal of everyone's life is to, do as little work as possible. That's what everyone. People don't want to have to do things.
All work and no play.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we have. Washing machines, dishwasher. Are there any fully automated aquariums that you've ever seen where like you never have to touch anything and it will just run itself?
No. There's always something you have to touch.
That would be fine.
You can get pretty close. There are automatic water change systems and stuff you can set up, but you still have to get them prepped and ready to do the water changes.
Oh. Okay.
You still got to fill them with water, add the salt, and then walk away from it. You know what I mean? Like, depending on that.
There's no system that adds water, mixes salt, or whatever, puts it in. All you have to do is stand there and enjoy.
Like, there's no, like, rebreather for the aquarium. Like, scuba divers have, so they can stay under longer.
So you're telling me...
Like a CO2 scrubber?
Yeah.
No, there's nothing quite like that on the market that I've seen.
So you're telling me there's a niche in the market that isn't being filled.
Yeah.
And we need to invent something and become super rich and famous.
Yeah, let's go get a pizza box cover and start jotting things down on it. Like
we're
the ones that are gonna come up with that breakthrough system.
We have a whiteboard right here. We can design it.
Here we go. This is the tank. Okay. This is the device. Let's call it device. And then we're going to have a tube here and a tube here, and it goes to the tank. And the bad water goes in, and the good water comes out. And then it's going to have a little vent here where it can take all of the moisture from the air in the room and turn it into water to top up the aquarium as well. I'm a genius.
Now, if this will work, I think we're rich.
Yep.
That's $1 million. You know what's cooler than $1 million? $1 billion.
That's a lot cooler.
That is a lot cooler. Well, we'll aim for that then. Okay, everyone, ignore what you've seen here. Don't invent it before us, please. That is our idea. Trademark, copyright, patented, all of that. Okay, enough of this nonsense. We have more questions. Al Sauls with another super chat. Thank you. My girlfriend wants to know if you can keep a male and female together in the same tank. I thought they have to be divided. Any recommendations on keeping bettas in general?
Okay, so you don't want to keep males and females together because males are extremely territorial. So even if they have females around them, if those females are not ready to breed, the males are liable to kill them just from defending their territory. This is especially true if they don't have enough space. If you have like a gigantic tank and a male and a female beta, and they can get way the heck away from each other, like a 200 and change gallon tank or a 7-foot tank, they could probably cohabitate that aquarium forever, essentially, and breed and stop breeding and do all their things without either of them dying from it because they've got enough space to get away from each other. Their territory is potentially far enough away. but I would not mix them. In general, for keeping betas, I highly recommend not putting them in a bowl. I highly recommend putting them in something 10 gallons or larger. I know a lot of people will argue that, but I think a 10-gallon tank for a beta is a great size aquarium. It's a very easy starter kit size to get. It's not that expensive. It'll give the beta its best shot at a full life. They'll be healthy. They'll be active. Usually the hang-on filters for those tanks aren't too powerful for the betas, but if you find that they are, there are ways to mitigate the flow coming out by putting things in front of the filter in terms of structures like rocks or plants and stuff like that. Live plants with betas are great. They really like to lie on leaves. I think Anubias barderi or Anubias caufifolia are great plants to keep with betas for that exact reason. They have nice, big, broad, flat leaves that betas can rest on. They also have a lot of stem that those leaves come out and sit on, so there's lots of space in between the plants for the betas to swim and find shade and cover and stuff. Yeah, they're not hard fish to keep. They don't like to be in groups. They don't like each other. It's like a hermit fish. They just want to be alone. They want to be alone until they want to. That was gonna rhyme. They want to be. They want to be alone until they're ready to reproduce. Then they want to reproduce. Then they want to be alone again.
Okay. Next up, another one from Fat Rabbit. Thank you, Fat Rabbit.
Thank you.
You live on a farm, eh? Can we look forward to a giant outdoor pond video?
When my kids are old enough not to drown in the pond, I might put a pond in.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah, I might put a very small pond in because I have ducks, and right now they're using a kiddie pool as a pond, and it looks kind of funny. But yeah, I could put a pond in at some point. My wife and I have actually talked about it.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think you would do it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Like I said, I don't want to have a pond that I have to block the kids from so that they don't dive in it when we're not paying attention.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Let's move on to our next question. This is a cool one.
Woo.
Well, I think so. We've never gotten it before. Do corals ever naturally attach themselves to rocks in aquariums?
Of course.
Because you always use, I always see you using the putty, whatever the...
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some corals are better at it than others. A lot of soft corals will attach to rock quite quickly. Discosoma and Rickordia and other mushrooms, they have a foot that attaches or detaches quite easily so that they can anchor themselves. Xenia, star polyps, leather corals, all they have to do is be touching a rock and they will, over time, just adhere to it. So... Again, some corals are faster than others. Brain corals and Acanthastria and other LPS corals like that, if they are touching rocks, they can eventually grow onto those rocks as well. Zoanthids a very common one. They will just attach themselves to rocks as they grow as well. The ones that I find are SPS. All SPS that I've ever come in contact with, if you just drop it on the rock and it doesn't blow away over time or it's not constantly rocking from flow, will attach to whatever it's sitting on eventually. It doesn't even matter how it falls. Whatever's touching becomes the bottom of the coral from that point forward. And then, what was I getting at? I don't remember. But yeah, everything attaches essentially over time. The only ones that will for sure never attach are things like fungia. Like plate corals. They are, solo polyp corals. There are dendros that are like that too, that just kind of live on the sand bed and have evolved and adapted to be somewhat motile and be able to unbury themselves from the sand. And they will never attach to anything just because they're not really designed to. Except for maybe when they're ready to reproduce, because I know that they kind of look like they're attached when they die, and then the babies that are coming off their body look like they're attached to it, and you can kind of sometimes find those attached to rocks. I'm going on a tangent. I fell down the rabbit hole.
Moving on. Can you tell me how to get the rock to grow moss for my fish tank? Not entirely sure what he's at. Can you get moss to grow on rocks?
Step 1. Get Java moss or Christmas moss or whatever, Taxiphyllum or Vallisneria, I can't remember what it's called. Get a moss of some sort. Java moss is probably the easiest. Then you take a little bit of Seachem glue, or essentially super glue gel. You put it on the rock. You take the moss and you go, and then it'll just grow over time and it'll be stuck to that rock, and then you can just trim it and then look pretty forever and always. Or what some people do is they'll get Marimo moss balls, which you can open up and flatten. So it's just like a cover of moss. And then you could do the same thing, a little bit of super glue gel and stuff like that. And Brian, I should be whiteboarding all of this, and I'm just not doing it.
Oh, well, too late now.
Whatever.
Opportunity missed.
So yeah, that's how you can get moss on rock, unless you just mean algae, in which case just don't turn your light off, and you'll get moss everywhere. Algae.
Best pH for a tiger Oscar.
Honestly, they are so bulletproof. They're pretty tough. They don't really care that much, but I usually aim for neutral to 7.5. For any fish that's like pretty chill, that's where I'm aiming. And the reason is because a lot of fish are just fine in that 7 to 7.5 range. They're either like 6.0 to 7.0, or 7.5 to 8.5, or 6.5 to 7.5. Like you can find a spot that they're kind of all comfortable with. And so 7.0 to 7.5 is my general, just like, there you go, fish, enjoy this. And neutral is also like most aquariums and municipal water, aquarium stores that run on municipal water and municipal water supplies are around neutral. And a lot of the fish that come into those stores, they don't bother modifying the water for, because they've been bred in captivity. They're used to, essentially neutral water, so on and so forth. So it's not much of a change for them to go from neutral to neutral, even if, what's technically optimal is 0.5 higher or lower, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think Oscars you don't have to worry that much. They're pretty bulletproof, unless your pH is like through the roof or like on the floor. They'll be just fine.
Will Marine Pure stop ammonia?
The Marine Pure blocks stop ammonia. I'm going to say yes, based solely on the fact that they're going to harbor nitrifying bacteria that are going to break down ammonia. So yeah, they should. Not like instantly. Like if you have high ammonia and drop it in the tank, it's not going to like be like and suck it up. You have to culture the beneficial bacteria on it, which can take a couple of weeks, and then it's going to reduce that ammonia.
Alrighty. Another reminder to hit that like button.
Yeah!
That always helps us too.
Please.
How is my stocking? 23 gallon.
Haha.
Hang on the back filter.
Ha-ha.
Aqua clear.
Haha.
Lightly planted.
Haha.
Low tech with
Whoa.
6 dwarf honey gourami.
Whoa.
1 Amano shrimp.
Whoa.
9 cardinal tetra.
Whoa.
Some red cherry shrimp.
Ooh.
And 1 narrate snail.
You got a lot of little honey gouramis in there. 20. I wouldn't put any more fish. If that's what you're asking. But
Full up.
Yeah, you're full. You're full. But yeah, as long as you're able to keep your nutrient levels where they need to be, you're okay.
Sweet.
You
well, good.
You
Yeah.
good.
Excellent. No worries then. I'm planning to keep a small group of neon/cardinal tetras and 1 betta. Do you think a 5 gallon is big enough?
No.
I
I would. Okay, here's the thing. I don't recommend keeping cardinal tetras or any of those small schooling tetras in groups smaller than 12, and I wouldn't put them in a tank smaller than 15 gallons. 20 gallons, honestly, would be better. So if you want to keep a tank, that small, you just find something else. Yeah. Just keep the beta and maybe like some invertebrates. It's probably a better option. Or just get a bigger tank. Like the price difference between that and a 15 gallon tank isn't massive. You can get a 15 gallon or even a 20 gallon starter kit for pretty inexpensive. So I would just do that personally.
Then you're good to go.
Yeah.
I have a 265.
Ho-ho!
I want to keep a fire eel.
Ho-ho!
Should I get a young specimen or a large one around 24 inches? My fish store has both.
Here's the thing. I love growing baby fish. I love it. So if there's nothing in the tank that's going to mess with a young fire eel, then I think there's something to be said about the satisfaction you gain from raising a young fish to an adult on your own. By feeding it really, really well, providing high quality foods, watching it get more color than the other adult that you see at the store right now. When I see adult fish, they either look amazing or they're kind of drab. If they're not already looking amazing, I'm always like, I don't know if I can get that fish to change the way it looks truly, right? So I always want to start with a young fish and just like make sure that I raise it as best as possible so that it is the healthiest, best looking version of that specimen that it can be. And then there's just this pride and joy that comes out of it, right? You end up being so just attached to that fish and happy with its accomplishments, and watching it grow and change over time is just so much fun. Again, just another aspect of the hobby that I really like. So I'd go little and grow it up, unless you have bigger fish in the tank that could pose a threat. Then getting an adult is your only real option, unless you're going to change your entire stock, which makes no sense. How's that for an answer?
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I just got a few weeks ago a walking catfish.
Cool.
Do you know how to sex them?
I don't, but they get massive, so I hope you have a really big tank. They're also basically a mouth with a tail, so they eat everything.
Well, how big do they get?
Big. I don't know, like 4 feet or something. Let me double check that.
Big fish.
Walking catfish. I wish I was an encyclopedia.
Yeah, that would be helpful for all of us, Thomas. You've failed us all today.
I know,
think
right?
we can all agree on that.
Oh, no, I was totally off. 2.5 pounds, 20 inches. That's still a really big fish, though.
All right. Well, moving on then. Does the pH matter if you acclimate properly?
It depends how far off it is from what that species can tolerate. But it's not as important as getting like fish out of water that is filled with ammonia, if that's what you're getting at. Temperature and the water not having ammonia, I think, are the most important things to consider. But if you can also match pH, then obviously everything after that you can match from what they require and what they need or what they're used to is just one step in the right direction for them. You're just adding your chances of success with that fish. But ammonia and temperature are the 2 biggest things you need to avoid when you're adding new fish.
All right. I have a bristlenose pleco that I just moved from the quarantine tank to a 55-gallon planted.
Nice.
He's having a hard time settling in and is constantly moving. How can I help him?
Let him be. Give him something to hide under. If there isn't already things that he can hide in or under, providing some will help, but just going to take some time. But he just got comfortable in the tank he was in, then he got uprooted and thrown in a new tank, and now he's just like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. But maybe he's not even upset about it. Maybe he's just like, wow, this place. I get to pick my favorite spot all over again. And this is so much better.
Just like truly excited.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a beginner at this hobby, and I've been having my tank for about 4 months. I've been doing water changes every week, but my ammonia is still 0.25. Can't get it to 0. What can I do? There's a lot of variables there, I would imagine.
Yeah. So one thing you're going to want to do is stop doing water changes to reduce the ammonia, because you need your bacteria in the aquarium to get to a level or a population that's able to reduce that ammonia. If you already have live fish in the tank and that's why you're doing water changes, it's a dicey little situation you're in because you're trying to protect fish from burn. But what you can do in that instance, and what you should be doing anyways, is just adding a bacterial additive to the tank frequently, because you need to try to foster that bacterial growth as quickly as possible. Something like BioSupport, or which is by Big Owls BioSupport. You could do Seachem Stability. You could do Hagen's Cycle. There's lots of different products out there that will aid in this, but you need to add as much nitrifying bacteria to the aquarium as you can, as quickly as you can, to try to get that bacterial population to a point that it is getting rid of that ammonia. Also, just double check, just in case, you can try it on your tap water. So take your ammonia test kit, test your tap water, and see if your tap water has ammonia. Because if it does, then every time you do a water change, you're just making the problem worse. In which case, you've got a different battle you need to fight. But double check that your tap water doesn't have ammonia as well. But yeah, just bacteria. You need the bacteria.
How do I know the gender of my goldfish?
What are they called? So I can't remember if it's males or females, but on the fins, they will have these little like spikes. Chub get them on their heads. I can't remember what they're called for the life of me. They're like these little bumps, these little white bumps.
That's the...
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the telltale sign, huh?
Yes.
Cool.
As far as I'm aware.
So if it has the bumps...
I'm not a goldfish expert, but...
Look up goldfish bump and Google that.
Forget the word of the... There's a word for the things that they develop when they're male and female and ready to breed, and I can't remember.
Well, that's all right. We don't hold it against you.
I hold it against me.
We all do too. I was lying. Does LED lighting affect aquarium fish?
Not truly. Not really any different than any other light. Not unless you're getting like some kind of weird, super ultraviolet eye burning LED, or like super infrared burning LEDs. I don't even know if those exist, but no, they're fine.
Sweet. What's your experience feeding plecos?
I've had plecos that like slices of cucumber or zucchini. I often just use sinking wafers. I've also used a Repashy product called Morning Wood. Good job, Repashy. Excellent name for any pleco species or species of any fish that eat wood. So if you don't have driftwood and you've got like royal plecos, for instance, then you can use that kind of food supplement for them. It really helps. But yeah. Blanched bell peppers can be really great for plecos as well. A online customer that I had, whose name I shall not divulge, but he would constantly remind me that his plecos absolutely loved blanched bell peppers, and I cannot forget it now because I've been told the story so many times. But it's I tried it, and it's true. They really do like them. So good job. But yeah. They're not hard to feed. They're easy fish to take care of. You got to watch out though. Some species, I'm not sure if it's vampire plecos, but there are some species that do need more protein in their diet. They're not truly like herbivorous. They actually eat meat and need that protein. So just it depends on the pleco species.
All right. Well, it has been a very fun hour. Thanks to all of you guys for showing up today, supporting us. That is unfortunately pretty much the end of it for us, the end of the line, because we got some of the stuff we got to go do. But I always love these Saturdays, these live streams, and
little hangouts with you guys.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys showing up, and all you people who do show up and ask your questions and support each other in the chat, send us super chats. All that stuff is super helpful to us.
Yeah.
If you want to continue to be super helpful to our channel, we are aiming to hit that 100,000 subscriber mark shortly. So anything you guys can do, sharing our videos and then telling your friends and putting word out on forums and Reddit and social and all that stuff.
And then we can do our giveaway.
Yes, because that giveaway is going to be massive.
The 100K giveaway.
There's no other way to say it. It's going to be massive.
It's going to be a lot.
Actually, there's a lot of ways to say it. Gigantic.
Humongous.
Humongous. There's a lot of ways to say it.
Gargantuan.
Yes. It's going to be
colossal.
Enough. It's going to be so good.
Planetary.
Okay.
Universal? No,
yeah,
that doesn't
work.
It's everything.
We'll scale it down a bit from there, but pretty close. We are really excited for it. And once we hit that 100K mark, we are going to be launching this giveaway, giving away like as close as we can get to 100 prizes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be crazy.
Some really big stuff, including we've got a huge prize of a 53-gallon acrylic cylinder aquarium with some filtration from ProClear Aquatics. It's insanity that they're giving that away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very expensive. It's thousands of dollars, and it's just one aquarium.
Someone's going to be a very lucky person.
Yes.
So, and all we have to do is hit 100K, and you just have to make sure you enter that when it happens. But we have to get there first. So anything you guys can do to help us would be great. What else? Like I said, check out our new Mega Build series if you haven't already. We got more stuff coming up for you shortly, so we're excited for that. And I guess that's really all I got to say on the matter. So what do you got to say there, big guy?
Just got to keep on tanking.
I've decided we'll end this stream again with you doing fish doodles.
Oh, okay.
And I want to see that. Hopefully music plays this time. Bye, everyone. Love you.
Adios. Here we go, fishies.
Perfect. Perfect.